All right, picking up from where we left off, in the previous videos, we had just finished loading data into this hierarchy, and that was a pretty straightforward task. Now this time we're going to focus on this hierarchy here, and what we're going to do is we're going to load the plant first, the machine type second, and then the machine third. So the next series of videos will focus on this little snowflake stem right here. So the first thing I want to be able to remind you of is that we need to make sure that when we work through these things that our database is empty. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to run this particular query, and I already have it set up into my query window, but I just wanted to let this know that I'm doing this. So I'm making sure that I use my data warehouse, and in this specific sequence, this goes from the inside out. I delete everything from each table, right? And I can go ahead and follow that same sequence and basically select star of all the data that's in these particular tables. So let me go ahead and run this query just so that way I know everything is empty. So that way if I do any tests on my ETL process, that way I know that I don't get any errors because I know that my data warehouse is empty. Okay. So let's go into our ETL process. So this is where we left off. We went ahead and created these three tasks, and that loads the product type, subtype, and product tables. So we're going to start with now working on the plant table first, then go to the machine type table, and then we'll load in the machine. So we need to create a new data flow task. So I'm going to click and drag that over here. I'm going to go ahead and just call that load plant, and I am going to connect these tables respectively. Now, just to kind of be a little nerdy here, I'm just going to go ahead and move some of these around because I know what I want this to look like when I'm done. So there we go. This is kind of working out for us. All right, so inside the load plant, I'm going to go ahead and double click on it. I will need a basic OLE database source, and I will need an OLE database destination. I will connect those two. And in this particular one, I'm going to use, excuse me, I don't want to go in there just yet. I'm going to actually insert an SQL statement, and this is going to join the tables of location and countries. So what's actually happening here is that there's two tables in the accounting database that we're going to connect. The second one is just nothing more than our PTI data warehouse, so I'll rename those respectively. Let's go back here. Let's go back to our data warehouse. Not this one, excuse me. I want to go to the accounting because this is actually where our data is coming from. So in order to fill the machine table, or excuse me, the plant table, we actually need data from two specific tables. The first thing that we need is data from the locations table, and then also we need data from the countries table. And we're going to go ahead and join them because we have country code here and country code here. And we're going to get the country name from that, and we're going to join these two tables to create the fields that we want. Now also we want to do this in a way where we're only going to get unique values. So obviously if there's a location code that duplicates itself or any other variation in here, we're just going to basically simplify all of those things. But this is the first time where we didn't do a complete one-to-one relationship between the two tables. Like for example, in products, we grabbed everything and just moved it over to the data warehouse, right? So in this particular example, we're not doing that. We're actually going to grab data from one table and another and then be able to put those two together. All right. So I'm going to give you basically how we're going to pull that off here. So the first thing is, let's go ahead and open up this connection manager here or the OLE DB source editor. This time we're going to make a change. We're going to we're going to use a different data access mode. We're going to use an SQL command. Now, I'm going to be giving you, in our class time, this particular SQL statement. So we're going to go ahead and paste it in there. That's not the one I want. What's going on here? All right, this should be the one. There we go. Now let's take a look at what this SQL code is actually teaching us. So it says pick from location as plant number. That's the location code as plant number. The location name as plant name. The location country code as country code, and the CO, which is a country name. I'm going to pull from locations, and then we're going to do a left join of countries where the country code equals the country code, and we're going to look specifically where the location type is a plant site. All right, that was a lot to unpack in a very small SQL statement. Go ahead and take a look at that on your own time, and let me know if you have questions. But there's a lot of pieces going on here, and we've covered in our class. Probably the only thing that's really unique is the left join part, and the left join part looks at the left table, which in this case will be locations, and only looks for items in the right table to join in. If it doesn't exist in the left table, connections to the right table won't come into the SQL statement. All right, so this is what we're going to implement here into our accounting database, and we can preview the data that if we like, right? And this is the result of that. So we notice that we have different plant names, we have different plant numbers, locations, country names, etc. Okay. I'm also going to look at the columns. I notice the columns kind of all match up. I think we're okay. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK there. And the PTI data warehouse, I'm going to make sure that I'm selecting my data warehouse, and the table that I want to load into is plant. Right. I'm going to double check the mappings. This is something that we should do more and more frequently just to make sure things are lining up, and in this case they are lining up. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK, and I'm going to save that, and I'm going to go on to the next task. All right, so in the next task, what we're going to do is we're going to load data. We're going to load data based on the machine type. So let's go over to Control Flow and have a new data flow task. And this data flow task is going to be called, I keep doing that. It's going to be called Load Machine Type. Right, and I'm going to respectfully connect these two. All right, and yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and go into load machine type. Now, in the load machine type, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're actually going to add an aggregate value here. Let's kind of step through this. So let me give you an idea of all the things we need to add. So let's go back to other sources. We're going to do an OLE database source. We're also going to do an OLE database destination, and the aggregation is actually going to be here in the common tasks, and we're going to click and drag aggregate here. All right, and let's go ahead and connect all those. All right, and the database source, I'm just going to say this is the molding machines. I'm going to leave aggregate as it is, and then the PTI data warehouse, I will just make sure that, or the destination is the PTI data warehouse. All right. Now let's go into the molding machines, and similar to the previous, we're going to go ahead and use an SQL command. This time we're going to select from the capital assets table. I'm going to go ahead and paste that in here. Now what we want to do is look where the asset type is a molding machine. Okay, so let's kind of preview, see what that gives us. Okay, so it looks at all the data that's in that accounting database and looks for anything that is simply a molding machine, and we can see that right here. Okay. And if we want to go back and look at the tables where we're pulling that from, so we're pulling from this table here, and we're looking for anything that is an asset type that is a molding machine. So we're selecting, basically doing select star of all of those values. Okay, so this is to load our machine. Let's look at the columns as well. And now in this case, we could have been a lot more selective on our select star statement, but we have an option here to change our columns to just the ones that we need to load our molding machine table. So the ones that we need to load in our molding machine table, we can find that out here in this diagram. So here our machine type only has two values. We have machine type and we have material. Now in our database, right, we don't necessarily have machine type, but we do have asset type, and we've agreed beforehand that these two would end up matching up. And then of course we have material. So those are the only two values that we need for this part of the process. So here I'm going to hit the checkbox at the top, select asset type, and I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom, hit raw material, and these are the only two columns that I really need to carry forward. All right, so I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to get into the aggregate function in the next video, and I'll pause right here so that way if you need to make some adjustments or some changes to this particular module, you can.